Downboard. Hey guys, it's Dale at Whole Shot. Well, before I start the video, I just wanted to thank every single one of you guys for the support and the prayers and all that good stuff for me going through my third cancer battle. Big tornado outside, so a lot of wind noise. And anyway, yeah, dealing with the chemo. Yeah, look, it's almost gone. It's going out quick. I figure when I start looking like a hyena, I'll have to shave it. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys for all the love and prayers and all that good stuff. And, you know, never really asked for a handout in my life, don't really like to. But if you want to donate a little bit to the channel, my little YouTube channel, it's not big, I only do it when I can. It's up to you. But it's just dlwalker@wholeshot.com. PayPal. Cooper, no. The dog wants his ball. But yeah, and that basically is going to go towards Cam Snapper, my pro street bike project that I'm going to be making videos all along for you, all the way through building the motor, firing the motor for the first time on the dyno, and then eventually next summer, if I'm still doing well in here, I'm going to go ride that thing. So anyway, thanks a lot. And like I say, Liza and I and Super Cooper totally appreciate your support, guys. We love you all. Okay, on to the video. Hello, guys. It's Dale. Look at that, huh? It's November 18th, 2024. Tomorrow's my third chemo day. And then the bone marrow shots that go nuts in my body. And it's a terrible thing. But anyway, today's not that day. So this video will probably be out after that. But anyway, I want to go over a little bit my concept with the new old school pro street bike that I named Cam Snapper, and kind of what my plans are now that I've kind of had time to think about it all. So this thing's about a 70-inch wheelbase, not super long. So I'm going to run no bar. It's going to be total old school. It's going to be I've decided to get rid of this little fairing. I really don't like this thing. I mean, they're kind of neat looking, but I need one that's wider. I need a bigger screen because I want to make a dash. This has no room. Come over here and have a look at this. This has no room in there for me to make a dash and do anything. So I called DME. I guess they bought out Beasley Fiberglass. And they have a, cool, get that ball. They have a Pro Stock Buell upper fiberglass fairing that they make, and they have the molds. And so I think I'm going to try to go with one of those. They're checking on the windscreen right now. And that'll get me more width. I can raise it up a little more. I can build a nice dash in there. Because I'm going to have a Wego. I'm going to have a small diameter, 11,000 RPM autometer tack, which I'm only going to use for off the line. This thing's not going to have a stutter box, nothing. It's going to be all on me to ride it like I did way back in the day, 88 to 91. With Ratzuki was my first pro street bike. And anyway, what else am I going to have? I'm going to have a gear indicator for each gear. It's going to be really cool. And maybe my switches will be on that little panel too, turn everything off and on. And regular Vance & Hines Super Hub, I took out of that motor. Ratzuki now has a slider. We'll run that thing next year too if I'm still here capable. And but anyway, I kept the clutch hub. I have the full clutch basket that I modified for 2 extra plates. I just need to send the hat off to Eric at MTC and have him put the steel buttons in it for the weights of the old MRE lockup. And I'll still run some soft springs and play with that, but pretty much it's all on me just riding the thing. So I'm going to foot shift it. I'm going to make a linkage, and we'll have a shifter coming off here. It'll be down a little ways, and I'll be pushing back on the shifter. Same over here with the brake pedal. I'm going to run my inline, what I call my barrel trigger. Hang on a second. Cooper, no. Give me that ball. Knock it off. 24/7. Cooper the play dog. He's a good boy. Anyway, I'm gonna have my little barrel trigger in there. I don't make anymore, but I kept a few for me. It's a compression switch, so when I load up the shifter, it takes the play out of the shift drum and it moves just a little more, and then it'll send a ground to my Power Shifter 2 kill box that will be my ignition interrupt. At first, I'm just going to have a button for the nitrous. It's going to be all on me when I want to push it. It's either going to be maybe midway through first gear, I'll wait till second gear. So that's kind of what this thing's about. And it's also about, even though it still costs a lot of money because you got to buy a lot of expensive parts. I'll be laying all the parts out when I get them all in front of me. Any of the engine builders know what it takes for a GS to, you need the studs, you need this, you need a bunch of internal parts to, make the thing live. So, yeah, I decided I'm going to go with 355. Webb's making me a special set of cans. 355 lift, 256 duration. Okay. Stock valve head. I think they're 23 and 28s in the GS 1150 head I have over here. And 38 millimeter flat slides I decided to go with, not 40s. And I'll show you why in just a minute over here. And Dyna 2000 ignition, with the ignition retard, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's what Cam Snapper's all about. It's about seeing how much power I can get out of what I'm building here. And let me show you real quick before we start the rest of the video. This is why this bike is named Cam Snapper. So this is my dad's car club. They started in the early 50s. Santa Cruz, California, Cam Snappers with the cam broke. Isn't that cool? That's my dad's original one. Here is a picture with the original Cam Snappers. So I only know about 3 of these guys. That's Don Ward, a good friend of my dad. That's my dad with the SIG, with his foot on the headlight. That's Jack Burkett, lifelong friend. He owned the car and he was pissed at my dad for 30 years for putting his foot on the headlight. But that's the Model A and their buddies. Look at their pants rolled up and their sleeves rolled up. And I think they were all about 17 years old right there. That's in Santa Cruz. Isn't that cool? Anyway, that's the Cam Snappers. This bike's going to be dedicated to my dad. So next I got to get the crankshaft packaged up. I'm going to send it off to Jan Kramer out in Florida. And he's going to pull it all apart. And 1100 straight cut gear. I'm going to keep the stock 1150 rods. And then he'll put it all back together and he'll weld it all up and make it pretty. So yeah, the whole deal here is we want to keep the rev ceiling probably about 10.5 max. Okay, and that's the deal. Peak power is probably going to be around 10.2, 10.4 or something. Cooper, no, you're going to get in trouble. Give me that. Come here, I want to show you something here. So this is Frank and Zuki. This is my 80s era super bike I built. This is only an 1168 cc motor. Very similar to what I'm doing. Okay, this is just an example. This is 36 millimeter flat slides. I did the head, stock valves, which are smaller than the 1150, at least on the intake side. Small 1.5-inch tube header that we hand built. And the only thing I did more here is, come over here, hon. I want you to look at the intake port here. I cut the ports clear off on this. Can you see it, honey? I cut the ports clear off and canted the carbs up a little bit, and use straight little intake manifolds, and then machine these spigots that went in there. They kind of look like an offset concentric to get the port spacing right. Pressed them in the head, welded them up, and then I ported everything. And this little motor is about 240 pounds of cranking pressure. It only has 348 webs, 242 duration, with 36 flat slides. Remember at the head. And this thing in California on my dyno made 159 horsepower. So that shows you how you can make power with the right combination, even though it's mild. So this thing over here, coming over to Cam Snapper, this thing being a 1500 or 1497, with a small chamber. I should be able to get the compression way up there. And hang on. Calm down. So let me show you real quick here. So the reason I'm going with 38 flat slides on this, not 40s, is because the groove for the stock intake manifolds, which I'm going to use, I have some brand new ones, rubber ones. They're about 40 millimeters or more, and I don't want to break through at this point. So I'll probably blend this to the manifold, and then what I'll do, till I get past this spigot, I'll probably keep it like 37 millimeters to keep a little bit more meat there. And then once I'm past this spigot a little bit, it'll still be a nice smooth transition from the manifold in there. And I'll blend the manifolds to 38 on the other end for the carbs, okay? But once I get past this transition, then I can open up the port and spread it, and I'll be, raising the roof and sharpen the dividers. No, honey, you got to get in there. And you see on the stock head, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the valve guide is still poking down. That'll be all gone. I'll make those go away. So, okay, so that's enough for this right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to get the cylinder over here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you. I've talked about it, but I'm going to go ahead and show you. You've got to remember, we're dealing with a used cylinder, not a new cylinder. It's used, and it's a little oversized and so on, but I'm going to show you how you can measure it with more simple tools, not having to take it to a machine shop if you're dealing with something used. Okay, so let's get on with that now. All right, first let me show you, on Facebook I showed you some pictures of this, but that's also going on YouTube. So let me show you first the dowel pin setup I came up with. This is an older MCC block, a used 1500 cylinder. Anyway, I had to go from the 6 millimeter hole in the block in the center to the 12 millimeter hole, or 11 millimeter hole in the 1150 head. So this is what we came up with. Luckily I got Jeff HD, this Harley racer friend of mine, one of my best friends now, that has a really trick Cosman Sportster that I helped him with. And anyway, so we came up with these step dowels. He machined these for me. They look super simple, but still very tedious to make these fit perfect. And so they go in the head like that. There's a little clearance. Here is your Cometic 1500cc layered head gasket with their coating on it, with the D dowel pin locator, which is a pain in the butt. MTC didn't have the ones. They didn't really want to sell me it without a head gasket. I had the ones with the bigger dowels here. On the back, front. So we doweled that on Ratsuki's motor. I doweled it here, which is an easier way to go. Anyway, so this drops down on here now. Pretty sweet. And it's got a little wiggle room, but they're lined up pretty darn good to the sleeves. And that should work just dandy. It goes on, it locates the head. And the studs are going to help locate it too, and the front bolt that goes in between the cylinder and the head. So that's that. So let me get the cylinder moved over here. I'll be right back. All right, I'm just going to show you how I measured the bore with the simple tool here. Not a bore gauge, digital bore gauge. I use these on my upper cases and got them pretty much right on the money. So anyway, I bought this stuff mostly on Amazon. I think this is about a $40 tool. Okay, and then my long feeler gauges and so on. But anyway, what I do is mainly with the used cylinder, I just want to check it and make sure it's fairly round. Remember, we're not dealing with a fresh sleeve, a professional bore job. This thing's already been run. So if it can be close, that's okay. Come over here, hon. So basically you want to measure. No, you need to look at the gauge. No, up here, hon. See the number?
Sorry. Hang on.
Come over here. Show you something.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, the sleeve down in the cylinder a little bit too. See that?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so what I like to do is I like to measure it in 4 points or go all the way around. And you have to kind of hold it kind of straight, but see, it's not way out of the money. It's 84.7, 84.8. And then what I also like to do is go down the bore like this. That's a pretty straight cylinder, regardless if it's oversized a little or whatever. We'll get to that next. But see that? That's going to tell you. And I like to measure it like this, and then another 45 degrees. Pretty damn good. Really good. See how that's on the money? Barely moves. That's me rocking. Okay? So that gives you a good, if you check them all, at least that's your first indication that the bore isn't totally screwed and way out of round. So the next thing how you can check the bore is with your ring end gap. Now, Eric at MTC wants miles on this end gap. Even on a nitrous motor, I usually run, I don't know, 16, 18, maybe 16, 17 on the second ring, the scraper ring, and on the top, maybe 18, 20. Well, he wants 24 or 25 thousandths. And sometimes you have no choice. For example, these rings and this cylinder, they end up being 24. So let me show you what I do. And this is another indication that the bore is straight. Okay, you're not going to have the piston, you're not going to have the rings. I need your curve sideways. You're not going to have the ring fluttering a whole bunch of when the piston's going up and down. Now, if it's oversized, you're still going to get some piston rock. And of course, over time, that can kind of scuff the skirts just a little bit. But hey, if it's not that far over, I'd rather have it a little loose than tight. And the ring end gap, you don't want it to butt. If they butt, get hot, they go away, they ruin things. So now you come over here, hon. So all the rings, as you guys know, some of you won't, have markings on it. You see that N right there? Right there, there's an N. Any marking on the rings go up, okay? So we're shooting for 23 to 25 thousandths gap on the second ring, and possibly the same or a little less on the top ring. I'm just going to show you this. So the N is up. We're going to stick it in the bore. Just kind of get it started. Just kind of get it started, and then okay, and then we're going to use number 4 piston. I already measured the pistons. They vary just a touch. I measured the cylinders, and I kind of individually, because it's a used block again, I picked the piston that was closest to each bore, and they're marked. So here's number 4. I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to push it down about an inch. Okay, get the ring nice and square. Haven't touched the rings yet. Haven't touched the end gap. I already measured this, and they're almost dead on 24 thousandths. So here's 24 thousandths right there, and it's snug. It's 23 to 24. So what you're going to want to do, back to me, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push that ring down about every 3/4 of an inch. Don't have to go clear to the bottom. The piston doesn't go that far. So you can go down about an inch below the bottom of the bore, maybe a ½ inch, just to check that it's still round. And, you know, as long as your ring end gap stays within a ½ thou or something, that's pretty damn straight bore. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. We haven't got the clearance yet. Clearance deal. Yeah, checking the clearance. We'll do that next. So anyway, that's it on the ring. So now that you know all the bore is straight, you could go ahead. I don't like bottle brush hones, but if the bore is straight and you have a proper fitting bottle brush medium, 240, 280 grit bottle brush hone, you can lightly hone it just to get a crosshatch on it, and you're not going to make it out of round. It's when a sleeve is out of round coming down like this, the bottle brush will follow that and screw it up even worse. So if that's the case, you want a 3-finger good quality hone, and again a 240, 280 grit, or maybe even a little finer. And you want to use a good lubricant, either a tapping oil or any kind of good oil. You keep it nice and wet, put it in something, just go even strokes, take it out, clean it, check it. So that's what I did. I bottle brush honed it just because the sleeves were, but I didn't do much. I just knocked the glaze off, cleaned it up a little bit. Okay, so now let me get set up, and I'll show you my way of checking, a rough check on the clearance to the skirts next. Okay, I'm going to do a little video cut here in between I forgot this. I'll put it in. So what I like to do on the bottom of the sleeve is most people, when they bore your cylinder, do a 45 on it, and they still leave quite a bit of flat on this area here. And it's a lot harder to get the rings started when you're compressing them to put the cylinder down. Some guys use hose clamps, things like that, because the studs are so tight it's hard to get a regular ring compressor in between there. So anyway, what I like to do is use a double burr bit, 1/4 inch shaft, maybe a 4-inch long, doesn't matter, 6-inch long is fine too. Probably around a 1/4, up to a 1/2 inch is fine, but maybe a 1/4 inch burr, maybe 3/8. And you notice how I round that and shape that up a lot taller towards the edge. Can you see that? I don't know if you can even see it. Because of the light, it's hard. But anyway, yeah, maybe on this one you can see a little better. But see how I shape that? All the way. I leave just a little material there on the edge. You can see it on the sleeve, on the edge. Right here. Here. But that's blended real nice. And then I use an abrasive like a Tootsie Roll. 80 grit's fine, 60 grit even. And I blend it more and I smooth it, but it's a nice rounded, let's see if I can set this light down. Yeah, it's a nice rounded radius, much nicer to get the ring started. And it really helps prevent catching the ring, getting it caught in the ring gland, even breaking a ring. Still got to be careful, but that's so helpful. And then I always oil up the rings with the motor oil and the sleeve, and it helps a lot. So that's a little tip on that, and that's a little trick I do all the way to the edge almost, and it really does make a huge difference putting the cylinder on. All right, now let's go over checking the bore with long feeler gauges as far as the clearance goes. When I was a kid, about 18, 19 years old, I worked at Coast Honda and for a few years before I started my own little shop. And the service manager there was a real good mechanic, and we used to bore and stroke all the old Honda singles and sleeve 750 Hondas and make them 900s and all that good stuff. And he taught me how to run the boring bar. So anyway, long story short, you would bore the thing. We had a quick way boring bar, the ones that stood up and came down. And we had bore gauges and all the right stuff. And nothing digital back then, but you'd have big mics and a bore gauge, and you'd measure it, and you'd get the bore roughed out, and then you'd use the long feeler gauges to get it maybe about 6-8 thousandths under what you wanted to end up with. Then we had a real good set of the manual Sun & Hones, the 3-stone Hones, real long ones, but Sun & good quality, expensive stuff. And then you would, you know, hone it to fit perfect. Again, this is a used cylinder. This is just stuff you could do at home if you had to use one. If you end up with a ton more clearance, you're going to have to sleeve it. So, but this is what you can go through, and it's close enough. If you get it within a thou, you're all right. You can run it. You know, it's not perfect. We're not building a pro stocker here. You know, this motor will still make a lot of power as long as you got a good ring seal, and so on. And you know, I'm going to spray the thing, so you ain't going to know any difference. Okay, so coming over here, I'll show you on the pistons. These are MTC flat tops, 11.5 to 1, but in a stock chamber, like we're doing, I should tighten up the squeeze a little bit, and I think I can get some pretty good compression out of it. So anyway, some of the MTCs, most of the pistons, you measure like a 1/2 inch down from the skirt. That's where they want you to measure bore. Not the case with these. They want you to measure the last 1/4 inch, just right in this area. So I already measured all the pistons, and they're close to dead on the money. See that number, hon? About 84.9 millimeters. They're a teeny bit different. So like I said, I kind of sized them already and numbered them. Didn't really have to, but I did. Okay, so now, and then over here you can see this is the crosshatch I got in it. I already have some marks in it because I already checked all the clearances. That's the crosshatch. with the bottle brush, very lightly. I didn't get crazy. Keep it in an even motion, keep them oiled up. Now that you checked it with your ring and know they're round, you're not going to ruin it with the bottle brush, but you still don't want to get crazy with it. Okay, so I got 2 sets of long gauges. I got a proto high quality set, but they don't have the numbers I needed. They skipped from 2000s to 4, so that was kind of useless. So I bought this cheaper set, and I measured them with my little 1-inch mic, and they're still right on the money. So I already measured them all, but this is how you do it. So you're going to take, for example, he wants this cylinder 2.33. 2.33, so 0.33, okay? Give me a break. I mean, you know, you can have it a little more than that. So, I started with a 0.025, like 2.5 thousandths already, and it's still got some clearance, okay? Then I worked my way up to a 0.28 and a 3. So, let's just put a 3 in there. I'll just give you an example. Okay, here's my garbage can with a little towel in it in case you drop the piston. It's not going to land on the floor. I marked the piston. It's not really necessary, but I'm anal. Here's your exhaust side. Here's the exhaust valves, the smaller cutouts. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in like that. So first we'll start with a 3 thousandths. Okay, and you don't want to kink it or ruin it. So, can you hold this other way? Just kind of in here what I'm doing. Yeah, so you can see what I'm doing. You don't want it crooked, you want it straight in the bore. And you're going to just slide it down in there, put your hand underneath, go all the way down. You already know the bore's pretty straight, so you don't have to check it everywhere else. You go about halfway down, pull it through, and see, that's still a pretty nice fit. See that? That's why you do that. You don't want that sucker falling on the floor. Okay,
I'll fix that one.
Yeah, and it's not garbage either. Okay, so it's nice to have a helper.
Fix the towel.
My Liza thinks that's really funny.
Fix the towel. Yeah,
I don't need the towel. Fix the towel. Okay, so anyway, see, this one's pretty nice. See, that's a pretty nice fit. And so that's around 3 thousandths. I checked them on there between 3 to maybe 3 1/4. And he wants some 2.33, so I'm happy with that. We're talking a thou over or less. We'll go to the next one, which I think is a 0.36. Yeah. 4 will fit, but it was snug. I was dragging the fuel gauge out of there. It's not 4. So yeah, a couple of them were still a little under this. So this is 0.036. So like what? Yeah. Yeah. See, it's still tightening up. See, that's still a nice fit. But the piston still won't move. It's not bound up, but that's fairly snug, kind of how you want it. Okay? So that is, like I say, so that's a touch over 3.5 thousandths. I'm going to call that 3.5. So we're about a thou loose. Come up to me now. I already checked them all, and they're within about a thou, maybe a hair less, over what MTC wants. I'm fine with that. That's not enough to hurt a damn thing. Matter of fact, it might make more power. But, you know, I thought about Cerakoting these with their slick thing here, just on the skirt area. You've seen Cerakote. Problem with that, it's 2 thousandths minimum up to 7 thousandths, and then it's going to be too tight. And then what happens is I got to hone the cylinder with stones, make much more clearance, then I'm going to end up with miles of end gap on the rings. I don't want that. I'd rather have compression, let these barely rock, and so what if they put little marks on here? They're going to anyway. But like I said, I'd rather have it a little loose than tight and let that motor run free. So that's how I do it. Like I say, if you get get one that's really loose, you're screwed. You're gonna have to have a sleeve put in and then properly hone that one or whatever you gotta do. If they're all loose, you're gonna have to re-sleeve it. But so anyway, there's the tips on cylinder stuff you can do at home. Next, I'm gonna strip the head, get the head all cleaned up, and so on. And I have had a couple guys ask me about my cylinder head stand. I've had a bunch of guys ask me for years. I built this cylinder head stand in 1989 or 90. I built it myself, and then my brother-in-law Paul welded up the things and stuff. So I don't know. Guys are asking me. I might make those. Small numbers, maybe 10 at a time. Maybe sell them. Guys are asking me about it. It'd be kind of a neat little part for me to make in my retirement days. But they won't be cheap. Still all handmade. It's not the stuff you can buy at Harbor Freight, you know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for the prayers and the good wishes and thoughts. Liza and I totally appreciate you guys, and Super Cooper. And yeah, I'll be out on the next video. Next few days is going to be hell, but that's what it's going to take. And I'm not giving up. I'm going to get this baby running one day, and we'll go from there. I'll get it on the track, on the dyno, everything. So, but I'm going to show you step by step on this build. So take care, guys. Love you guys. Talk to you on the next one.